Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to show you guys some casual resin pours because the video I was originally planning to put out will take a lot longer than I anticipated. So you guys can look forward to that hopefully next week if I can finish it. And until then we're gonna have some not so wintry little pours that I did. So all of these are supposed to be container molds, and I just had some different designs in mind that I wanted to do, so I mixed all of them, and I mixed like this huge amount of resin that I knew would be enough for all of them. And the resin I'm using here is a quicker set 1:1 ratio resin, because I also want to add some glitter in the embeds, and I want to make like a alternating color pour thing, and so the colors don't mix, I need this kind of resin, because it just works the best, I found. So all I'm doing here is I mixed in some white and pink Morandi pigments to get this like milky strawberry kind of effect. And then I wanted to add some boba beads, and I realized later that I kind of made a mistake in like pushing them to the sides, because, you know, boba usually sits on the bottom. So it's likely not gonna turn out bobery, but yeah, I only realized that right after I already finished the pour and was working on the next one, so I really hope it still has the like mixed color effect though, because the boba beads will likely drag some of the pigments down with it. So let's hope and see how this one turns out. But yeah, I guess I should have thought a bit more which way around the container goes. For the next one I wanted a kind of chocolatey coffee and milk kind of vibe with this jar. It's actually also a mold from Sophie and Toffee with like usually a cork thing that goes on top. I don't have the cork things anymore, but I like to use these molds as like brush holders, pen holders, or even like, you know, to like have paint water in it or something like that. So I wanted to have like a coffee effect or cocoa effect depending on what you prefer. So again, alternating the white and the brown Morandi pigments. I mixed up a bit more of the brown than the white, but I still hope the white will show through. And now comes a galaxy pour where I did a big mess up. I had two black pigments out, one Morandi pigment because I wanted to originally mix that into another pour if I had leftover resin, and one clear one, and you saw me grab the right bottle. I meant to grab the left one, which is clear black. Yeah, I mixed in the Morandi pigment. I managed to dilute it to like be a little see-through, but I don't expect the galaxy effect to turn out this well, plus I don't have that much resin left now. And then I mixed in some blue with some glitter and some purpley pink. And I also wanted to mix some red, but I realized that I picked up a red that goes super neonly orangey. Tried to tone it down with some black. Didn't work at all, so I'm going to use this for leftover pours. Probably mix in some more black to really overpower it. But yeah, I also added some gold flakes. I don't think they will show through in the black now that it's so opaque, but you know, hopefully I get at least some good galaxy effect, so I decided to just pull through with it and, you know, go with my original plan. And then I just also alternate all of the colors that I mixed. So essentially doing this same technique for all my pours. So I try to like really get all of the resin out of my colored versions. Also when I do these pours I usually like to go a bit less opaque than anything, just to have the like galaxy effect show through a bit more. Especially with the colors. With the black I usually go like a tiny bit more, but not as much as the Morandi pigment. But with like the blues, purples, pinks, whatever you want to mix in for your galaxy effect, I usually go a little bit more translucent. And then I use the black here for the star mold, which already has some leftover resin from other pours in there. And then it was finally time to mold. I actually poured the purple, red, black mixture into some accent sphere molds, and the sphere mold here is completely done. It's like so ripped in. I used it for 2 years now, and luckily I have another one, but this one just needs to go. Now ripping these egg and spear molds is super easy, since the openings are usually way too small for what you mold. So couple rips are usually normal, but with mine there was some large chunks missing by now that like fused with some pores because they were so loose on top that it just wasn't worth keeping. But again, it got a good amount of uses, so I'm not too mad. And of course, the thing I struggled most with were the eggs, and this one is fun. It looks kind of like a beach scene with the water, the black and the sand. But yeah, I always tend to mold my resin while it's still a little soft. So cured and not sticky, but still like a tiny bit moldable and indentable. And you need to be careful in this stage, because you can definitely scratch it permanently, but I found it just way easier to trim off any excess that I have. But yeah, I'm really seriously surprised how good it still looks with the pink. And there's only minimal air pockets, which I kind of expected, especially on the rim, since it's very thin and boba beads tend to trap the air pockets. But yeah, it still looks really good, nonetheless. I did notice that this mold was decently dirty on the inside, and that was sadly only after the pour. So there's some tiny flecks of black resin and stuff that I got from previous pours in there, but the milky and chocolatey effect still is very visible. And then of course the most surprising thing was this leftover mold, because I didn't remember which resins were in there at all anymore. So when I opened it, I was fairly surprised that there was a large amount of glitter clear, blue and clear in there. And it actually looks quite fun, I think. I did the pull test to make sure that the layers adhere properly, and I didn't see any dislamination, even though I pulled quite hard, so I'm pretty certain it holds. Although I definitely poured them in like with quite a bit of distance between the pores. I also do make sure though to turn around the mold when I put some leftovers in there, just that no dust will collect. But yeah, let's actually have a closer look at all of them. So again, I wasn't too sure if the pink would actually work out with the boba bead, and it doesn't quite give boba, but the black with the pink and white actually looks quite fun. And although it definitely did drag more of the pink down, it still has more than enough white showing through in the box that it actually fits quite well with the lid and looks super nice. So yeah, I don't quite know which effect it gives, if it's actually still boba or not. But yeah, I really like this color combination, and I think it turned out kind of cute. So I think to actually get a true boba effect with this mold, you probably would have to pour it in like layers, but then you wouldn't necessarily get this cool mixed like white pink effect, because it's really hard to make it not look like there's a weird line running through it if you do this. So maybe you can use like a layered pink and white with like either one on top and then the boba on the bottom, so it actually stays on the bottom. But yeah, still super happy with this container. Always loved this Sakura container, it's so cute. So I still think it looks super nice. Now, as I already mentioned with this one in the molding, there is some flecks of like black and something from like other leftover resin pours that are like visible a bit from the outside, but they're not too visually overtaking that I'm too worried about them. And I actually really like how random the like milky white is dispersed in this mold, because it really looks like it's swirling actively with like milk and, as I said, either coffee or cocoa depending on what you prefer. And yeah, I'm super happy with this. I really love this, and I'm super tempted to put like a coffee bean logo or something on the outside, or like a cocoa bean logo just as like a sticker. And like maybe around the like top of the bottleneck, the tiny one, maybe like a decorative string or something. And I'm sure you can actually use this as a vase. I just wouldn't put any food in there, but with flowers I found usually resin pours like this are fine. And yeah, I guess the most surprising one for me today was actually the leftover mold, because again, I didn't know which colors were in there. Usually I don't use these kind of container molds as much as leftovers, because you cannot pop the bubbles in between the layers easily, because the walls are too thin to like get a flame or isopropyl alcohol in there properly to pop them, because it can like melt or like burn the mold from the inside and it can damage it, so you cannot use it anymore because it will fuse with the resin. But in this case, I actually was surprised how well it worked out. The first 2 layers I know were like, at least the first clear one was a more liquid resin, so it doesn't really have any air bubbles in between that and the like milky bluish layer. But the bluish layer itself and the clear layer underneath were both the 1-to-1 resin, and I think it actually gives like a super fun effect with like the bubbles just appearing on the like middle super clear layer. I don't know which vibes it gives me, but the colors fit together super nicely. So this actually worked out 100%. And you know, if you have these kind of molds and you try and pour different layers, either try to pour your leftover resin while the other resin is still like slightly not fully cured, like still soft, so you don't have any problems with them adhering together. Or like make sure, if you can, to like sand them between the layers. In this case I couldn't, but if they separate, I tried to pull on mine and it didn't. You can always like sand in between and put some glue or something in between to like make them adhere. It will not be as sturdy as if resin fuses while curing, but it will still be more than sturdy enough to use this as a cup holder or something. But yeah, the last one, the Galaxy one, I actually had to crank up my so quite a bit to like show this. And yeah, you can actually see it a bit more in person, but there's surprising amounts of like purple, pink and blue showing through. So I am super happy with this still. Of course the black is more than overtaping, but that's mainly because I mixed so much. But the thing with Morandi pigments, like the black, is it likes to sink, so if I hadn't diluted it, it would have been way heavier than the other pigments and the entire thing would have probably also turned out just black. I will never know, but I still love this effect. Like there's still enough Galaxy going on, especially on the top rim and on the bottom, where I'm thinking like it gets the vibe through, and the glitter's actually flowing through nicely through the black. So that's super nice too. It's just a bit more subtle of the Galaxy effect, I guess. The only thing that completely vanished in the black were the gold flakes, but hey, that's totally fine. It's still super fun pencil holder. And then of course we have the leftover eggs. I don't even remember which pours they all were from. I remember the blue sphere was when I mixed the like fun colors for the little magical like sphere ball thing for my little LPS. But I don't remember when I actually used this vibrant orange. So I don't know where that color comes from. Luckily the pink doesn't show up too pinkish like the red. I was worried. I added a little bit more black pigment and that actually worked pretty well. Because there's just some like reds and purples that tend to be super neon on the bottom, like when you pour them. I don't know why specifically, but it must have to do something with the red, since purple is also made up of red pigment too. So whatever causes that, like, it's super annoying. It doesn't happen with all of the pigments, but I found really hard to find like a purple pigment that doesn't have that shine through. It almost looks like when it's curing, like you have a highlighter that like poured in the pour, but luckily it's not too bad in this. And it actually works quite well with the red and the orange tones that we already have. So yeah, overall super happy with all of them. And that's all of my pours for today. Let me know in the comments down below which you prefer, and also I hope you will have a good start into the new year. And thank you for sticking around with me through this year. I definitely had a lot of fun this year with all my projects, and I'm looking forward to what I can come up with next year too. And as always, hope you have a great day. See you next time. Bye bye!